Hello.
How's the shoulder one?
That's cool.
Have a motion to reconvene. Second,
Motion.
Randy made the motion. Dennis, you make the second.
Okay,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. It is 5 o'clock, and we will continue our LSIC presentation here with Spring Valley High School.
All right, appreciate y'all doing this every year. I'm just going to go run down some just various things, but then I'm going to talk about and give you more information about some things that I think are in their interest and might be pertinent for you to know out there in the community. So, student enrollment right now, 932 students. We're down from about 950 last year. I know enrollment countywide is diminishing, but we haven't seen that big. It'll start to hit us more, I think, dramatically as years go by. But
Where did you say you're at?
932.
932. Okay.
We were about 950, 952 last year.
The magic number for Tim George is 625. He doesn't want to go under 625, and that's about all he cares about. Let's keep us in AAA. Our chronic absenteeism rate is 33%, and for the county it's 29%. So ours is a little higher than the countywide, and we could probably point to a few things what we think might be anecdotal at best, but our absenteeism rates, chronic absenteeism is at 33%. The discipline overall, I don't think we're any different than we have been maybe the last couple of years. I don't know what the other high schools. I mean, we're probably very similar, but ISS, OSS, and whenever we have a discipline and we're considering ISS or OSS, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we do. It's not we don't rubber stamp those things. We really, especially with three of us in the office, but Will is over here quite a bit as well, dealing with his students. But we really confer and try to get it right. And we really look at each discipline incident of behavior individually and what it merits, and is there a history of this behavior, and we want to discipline the behavior and get the behavior corrected, but we're not all about well, they did this, it's not in 3 days. I'll give you an example. We always say insubordination is 3 days out. If you just stand up and walk out on a teacher, it's 3 days out of school. Now, when we get them in the office and we start talking to them, and if there's some mitigating circumstance, we'll call the teacher and say, hey, listen, here's what's going on at home. We're going to probably do this. And so it's how we operate. So I want to talk about a few things that are new to us. Some of them are, I want to say they're not. Beta Club, for example, is not new to us, but there's some new energy behind it. And so we've had bigger involvement this year, better involvement, and done a few things with it. But
before you move on to beta, let me ask something about the discipline. Vaping.
Yeah.
I think we went to a diversion program for vaping offenses instead of being just an automatic suspension. And I know we have the gentleman here that does the
yes.
vaping class where kids can avoid being suspended if they attend the after-school vaping class, that type of thing. How is all that going? Do you think it's working?
I'll have to defer to that.
Now I've had conversations with Mr. Jordan and the other gentleman.
Yeah.
I think we've had, because we didn't get started with that till probably approximately November, December.
Right.
With him coming aboard. We've probably had 8 or 10 kids that have gone through it. Talking with Mr. Jordan, he feels like that it's been a success. As a matter of fact, I believe 2 students, if I recall correctly, have asked if they can kind of stay in it to try to help them with their nicotine issue.
Okay.
And whenever we do have students, especially repeat offenders with nicotine vapes, in talking to them, we ask them, do you feel like this is an addiction? Do you feel like this is something that you're struggling with? And at any point, if they say yes, or it's becoming one, then we're putting them in grabbing for it. We actually just had a student come in today and ask for it because she knew somebody else that was in it. So I think that it's going well.
I know when the vaping first hit us, it was crazy because we were having an ambulance at a school at least once a week where kids were overreacting to nicotine in most cases, and in some cases maybe foreign substances in the devices. But I don't hear near as much about that now.
So with our nicotine, we're not suspending students for nicotine. We're doing the diversion.
Right.
And then we're doing in-school suspension or other interventions for the student by talking to the student what they're doing.
I will say though too, we put kids in that diversion type activity, but then we also find evidence that they continue to pay. So I think it's going to be, it's certainly an addiction. I think a lot of these kids, I think they want to quit, but it's an addiction, and you know, it's easy to regress back into that behavior.
And by success, I'm not saying success as far as we're stopping these kids from vaping, but it's educational. It's
Yeah.
informing them about what we're putting into their bodies, which is more than they did before going into it. So I think it was better to focus them.
You know, and it's, you know, the more stuff we read about it, like popcorn lung, I heard about it years ago, and then now it's coming back up again, because I would say there's more and more research that shows there's just a lot more evidence out there. And I mean, if that doesn't get the attention of these kids, but they think they're going to live forever. And it's certainly an issue.
Thank you.
Very well. I want to talk about the Beta Club. We've always had Beta Club here. The participation was, it was not even on my radar. I kind of knew we had it, and they did one thing out of the year, but I don't know that we did much with it. But Cassie Snyder really was convicted about resuscitating Beta Club for our school, and so she took it over this year. She's our community and schools coordinator. She's fantastic, and so she took that over. She took us to state competition, and we had 38 that participated at state Charleston. We had 21 winners, had 8 first place winners, and they've taken on some community service projects, and they've done a few things here at Christmas time. So it wasn't just one of those things. I think previously it was, I was in Beta Club, you put it on your application and all that, but now we're really trying to get those kids in and involved. So I think that's been an improvement for us this year. 1998, and we're going to have a cord for that this year. So 1998 was the year we opened up the doors here. So we called our community service initiative 1998, and I borrowed this off of Marshall. But 1998. So we went last year. We're deciding how much time, how much community service. What are we going to ask students to do? We don't require it because we would not want to impose on them to impose good service and being a good citizen, but we'll let them opt in if they want to. So what's a good number? And, somebody would throw out 20 hours, and next door they use 10 hours, which to me just didn't seem enough. That seemed, minimal. Some said 40 hours, and so we ended up in 1998. You add up the minutes, divide by 60, it's 33 1/3 hours, and so we just kind of tied it to the history of the school. So if you put in 33 1/3 hours of community service over 4 years, you get a cord, and we designed the cord. It's black, orange, and green. So the 3 schools, we intertwined those in 1998. And so we got several students this year who are getting the 1998 cord. If we've got students who are going to do 1,998 minutes every year for 4 years, we're going to recognize that with something a little different, maybe a little more. We don't know what yet. That would be, I added it up, how many hours is that? 200 and something, 133 hours of community service. So if you get these kids who go to Cabell, Huntington, or St. Mary's, who are doing those hours every summer, they would qualify for something like that. But we're asking for not only for community service hours, but a diversity in hours. Don't just give us 33 hours in Sunday school. Give us a variety of things. And we give them opportunities here at the school. So this summer, we'll put the word out. If your kids want some volunteer hours, we can come in and we'll be doing some beautification. Or we've got our football team will be at the food bank this summer, July 26th. They'll get community service hours for that. So it's a good look for our football team, our school, but they also get something out of that. And the more we've talked about it, and the more that they see that they get that little carrot of a cord, it's meant something to them. So they've been tracking their community service. And it's especially if you're college bound, it's good to keep track of that. So something new for us this year, and you'll see those cords at this graduation. Speech and debate, this is our 2nd year into it. I hate to say that we have a team. We had a couple of people that participated. And I know Mr. Alexander he's I think got the right approach now from a countywide position. You need to get someone to coach or teach who is dynamic, who is motivated, they're engaging, and it is something I agree, I think it's something you can do from a distance learning type perspective. So if you can find that one good person in county, you can connect everybody through distance learning technology. And to me, I really want to, and I'm motivated. I got a kid in it, and her kids wants to get it. So we're motivated. We want it to, but I'm really, from a county standpoint, it'd be great to see us get 20 kids in there countywide.
Absolutely.
So we're willing to do anything to make that work. So we had some success with the 2 we had this year, but that's a program that I think will only benefit our schools in the county to see it grow. Student government, we're really trying to make that, and it's been in a couple of years in the making, trying to move from that just being a check off. And I was president, this is a freshman class, to something where it's more, they're an arm or an extension of the student body here. They're a voice for the student body. So that's where we want to get. And they're actually doing some work, but they also represent their classes and the student body. So instead of every class having officers, we have essentially, the best way to put it, you have seniors who can serve in officer positions. So we have a Senate with senators made up from the 3 classes, and then the officers come out of the senior class. So we only have one. We have a student body president, vice treasurer, historian, and that. So we don't have 5 vice presidents, 5 presidents, all that. I think I like that approach, and the guy who came up with that, I think, was Ben Foltz, and I think that works for us a little better. So you got underclassmen plus the juniors who they run as a senator. They don't have the pressure of, hey, I want to run as a president. So if you get motivated kids who want to get in there, they've got a good shot of getting in. And we really tried to design the application process and the campaigning process so it's a level playing field. If you've got deep pockets, you can't come in here with 20 color, printed posters and put them up, and then somebody who can't do that. We've limited everybody to 5 posters. Everybody has to deliver a speech, which I think has been pretty fun. How are the speeches today? They're good. So the kids have to go up just like Napoleon Dynamite. They have to stand up and give a speech. And yesterday's were great. Today's, I guess, were great. So we're trying to do something a little different with student government, make it, yeah. The one thing I wanted to mention, and then I'm going to turn it over to Shane and then Will, is our honors class. So the thing that you might get a call on and is our honors classes. So I'm going to take responsibility for this. Your ears perked up, I can tell.
Yeah.
So when I came in here, I brought the old philosophy: if a kid wants an honors class, by golly, let's give it to them. If they're motivated and they want in there, let's give it to them. If they want to rise to let's do it. I have to concede and tell you what has happened, and it's affected our ability to truly have honors classes. Is these kids, they request honors classes, but they're requesting for all the wrong reasons. They're requesting because their buddies, they qualify for honors classes. They can really stretch and do the work. They're committed. They've got the work ethic. They may not be so much, but they want to be in class with their friend. Well, we've let everybody hey, if they requested it, we're going to let them in. Well, what's happened is it has diluted our honors classes. And so if you go in, for example, in geometry this year, and this should give you the picture. If we have 5 sections up, 3 are honors and 2 are not. That is not, if you look at our data, that is not a good picture of the capacity our student body has in geometry math. And you could say the same thing for algebra 2. And so we have these inflated numbers. Nationally, there's grade inflation. And so what we want to get down to is if you've requested honors class and you show the capacity to succeed in that, and we can take you from here to here in an honors class, then we're going to get you in there. If you're someone who hasn't shown remediation free or you, Shane, I'm searching for the word. You haven't been, did not pass the test, but you show that you are
Below.
Proficient?
proficient.
Yeah.
Not yet,
The
not
P word,
proficient.
proficient. So if you can't show that you're proficient on our PSATs or the SAT, here's what we didn't automatically throw you out, but we looked at that. We looked at your performance. We talked to the math teachers, and they said, this kid just really, if we're trying to move to where these honor classes really are honors level, then yeah, they need to be in a regular math class, for example. So we've done that this year, and I think that the math team, Shane, the counselors, they've all done a good job of looking at everybody, looking at their PSAT. What you're going to hear is, hey, and I've got one parent who did this to me. You know, very nice lady. I like her a lot. Got a great kid. But as soon as she told me, I knew where we were going with this conversation, and my immediately thought was, your daughter is not an honors math student. But she wants in there, I know, because, and I can tell you who her friends are, she wants to be in there because we're friends, and we got to move away from that. It's hurting others, and it's not helping them. Because you get, if the ability level in the classroom, and this is supposed to be an honors, you expect to walk into a general ed classroom who might have co-taught students in there, students on IEPs, you expect to be the range like that, and that's expected. But if you go in an honors class, the range shouldn't be that wide. It should be a little more narrow, and it should be on this end. And so that's what we're trying to get at. Plus, we were giving kids things that honestly they hadn't earned, didn't deserve, and you know, there's no, they just got it because they asked for it. So we're not saying they'll be out of there for forever, but if they want in there, they got to earn it. They've got to come in there. They got to buckle down. That's the thing. We thought they would go in there and work hard, make the grades. They did. The effort just isn't, and I don't think that's a Spring Valley problem. I think that is just in education in general. So any questions about that? Does that make sense? I had one parent come up and say, hey, I want to talk to my daughter. She requested, her junior math. They didn't let her have the honors. And she had a bad day when she tested. Well, I know this kid, and bless her heart, love her, sweet kid. She didn't have a bad day. That's where she's at. No parent wants to hear that. Kids don't want to hear that. She was sick. And I said, well, I'll take a look at it. But and I explained to her what we're doing in hers and everybody's best interest. We got to get everybody placed where they need to be. And if she's not where she needs to be in math, we got to get her put in a classroom where we can provide her instruction that will get her where she needs to be. So that's what we're trying to do. So this puts us in position to really go to honors teachers and say, okay, we've really got to stretch these guys. And so that's, if you hear anything in that realm, that's what's going on with that. That's really that's what we're dealing with. Not everybody has their schedules yet, but they'll be finding that for soon. With that, I know Will has a handout. If you want to go ahead and hit the handout, and if you have anything that you want to mention on CT side.
Yep. Passing out, I'll give you guys a little highlight sheet every year. So this is this year's version of Spring Valley CTE. The program highlights we have and everything. Just want to go. I'm definitely not going to go through and read this. Take a couple minutes of your time though. Again, we just want to let everyone know we're on track to, how we won the Pinnacle Award this year, for meeting as a county for meeting and exceeding the CT requirements, set by the State Department. We are on track to do that again. We just got done with our NOCTA exams end of the year. We had 79 students meet the workforce entry cut score, which that's awesome because 5 years ago that was only like 40-some kids. So we kept on, we keep on getting better and better every year. Last year it was 75, and this year we got even more this year. Put a little spotlight on our Pro Starts, our culinary program. I think you guys probably saw them up at the teacher appreciation and service personnel dinner last night. They're going phenomenal. That was already a great program. We got a new instructor this year though, and it's kind of just blowing it out of the water. He has taken them to competitions. They won Chili Fest. They've won Autumn Fest. They had a top 5 finish at the Western Hospitality Cup. They've catered over 15 events. I really need to just walk into that class. I highlight if you guys want to come see how LCT programs, to come visit that program. Just the energy in there, just like a professional kitchen. We're watching, and the students interact with each other and the student leadership, and that's how that program ran. That was about it. You guys can kind of read through the rest of it here too. We did have, we mentioned a couple Educator of the Year. Colonel Damon won the American Legion Teacher of the Year, and we had our sports medicine teacher, Kevin Burton, he won the West Virginia Athletic Trainers Association Educator of the Year. So super proud of all of our students and super proud of our teachers. Robotics kids also had another great year. Just, I could talk 5 hours about this, but
How are we doing with our aviation maintenance program?
aviation maintenance is doing awesome too. Those students are getting ready to take their FAA certification exam. It's just neat. If you've never been up there too, I highly recommend you get up there just to see because the questions in the hangar, just to see them get hands-on. It's all hands-on, all real world. They have some simulated stuff they have to do on the computer, but pretty much everything else, they're just out there in the hangar working. A lot of those guys also kind of intern up there over the summer, so they get to employ their skills too. We're going to have.
What kind of enrollment numbers are we looking at for next year?
Six program clears this year. We got 15 in the first class. I think next year is 12. 12 have signed up for it.
Okay.
Is there no participation in Skills USA anymore?
No, we did not.
Is there a reason?
No, I don't know. It's a real busy time of year, and we just need to get back on the lid, and we made a priority. Again, we participate in lots of other competitions, Educators Rising. Skills USA kind of falls right there.
We'll let Will off the hook here and just tell you. I don't know that we have some teachers that are motivated, but we are when we're at that conversation.
That's what it boils down to.
And we're not going to make excuses.
Yes.
We're going to be in there. We're not going to make excuses.
No.
Will is a great standing. He's going to take bullets for his staff, but we're going to take care of it.
I didn't know we still had teachers that participated because it does take someone that's willing to put time in.
No, we're going to get back. We're going to get in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm briefly just going to go over our data. We received our PSAT 8-9 data about 4.5, 5 weeks ago. Same thing with our PSAT data, which we took in early March. Our 9th grade class, we had 22% of our students who met both benchmarks on the PSAT 8-9, which was 4% higher than the district average and 9% higher than the state average. So in the ELA, we were 51%, which was 5% higher than the state average and 2% higher than the district. And in math, we were 23% proficient, which is 9% higher than the state and 4% higher. So hopefully, if these students continue to grow math-wise, because that's always the big push. So seeing that 23% proficient with PSAT 8-9, if they're like that with juniors, I'll be jumping for joy. And then with our 10th grade, our meeting both benchmarks were 14%. We were just below the state average. State average was 16%. And in the ELA, we were 53%. State average was 49%. In math, we were 14%, and the state average was 16%. And then the SAT data, which is not really out there yet, we were a little bit better than last year with our school scores. We were a little bit below in math from the district average and the state average. And in ELA, we were, again, a little bit below, maybe 1% or 2% below of where we were at with the district and the state average. I am hoping that if I've added my numbers up correctly, because what you get from the SAT is a little bit different from the state, because the SAT, it's a 530 on math and a 480 on ELA, but for state, it's 520 math and 470. So I'm hoping that our percentages will jump 2 or 3%. And then, the most important thing that we're all proud of, I think, too, not the most just because of it, but just some information about our dual credit and our Mount West. So we had, in our class of 2025, we had 92 students who had Marshall dual credit classes. We had Mount West, which is ASL and Jumpstart, 49 students. We had 53 students who were involved in AP classes, which includes AP Chemistry, AP US History, and we also have some, those are 2 classes that are taught here in AP Language. Those are 3 classes that are taught here on campus. And we have a couple other students who are taking some AP classes just, online and stuff. Our class of 2026, we had 71 students who were enrolled in Marshall Dual Credit, 14 students who were enrolled through Mount West. And then the class of 27, which the majority of those students, like it's 35 students from Mount West, the majority of those are our ASL students. And then 52 are through Marshall, the majority of those are our dual credit US History 230 classes. And we also have 30 students in our class of 2028, which is our freshman, primarily through Mount West, our ASL classes. So we do have, as you can tell, a lot of students who are getting dual credits and AP classes. So we're very pleased with that.
Just a couple of things, and we'll conclude. Just adding to what he said. When our kids go to Marshall, there are some classes that qualify because their standards meet the standards of Policy 2510. So those are true dual credit classes. But then, and I'll use Alex Rinkamp as an example. Then you have some students who can go in at no cost to either the district or to the student. They can go in, and last summer Alex took, I believe, 3 different higher level math classes. Those are the opportunities we're giving these kids through Marshall. Not only the dual credit, but the ability to take those kids who, if you look at educational law, what law do you have that really drives how this is what you do with kids who are gifted and are on the higher end? And we always take care of these kids that are down. We try to move them up, but we really worked hard to try and give those guys those same opportunities. A couple of things real quick, and I'll end. And I think everybody is aware of all this. One thing might be new to you, but obviously we've got the Bermuda grass, which is absolutely beautiful. On the football field, softball and baseball, there just always seems to be improvements going on there. I think everybody sees those. But I wanted to mention too, in our auditorium, and we've worked through that. We got the new curtain, we got the new sound system. And now we've got wireless mics for our kids, especially for our theater kids when they start to and we have a strong theater program. We just don't have a lot of kids who participate. Huntington High does a great job of that, phenomenal. They had the teacher for that. We'd like to see that happen, but we've really now got as top-notch facilities and equipment for our kids as anybody has. So we've got these, we've got 8 wireless mics, and we're talking about adding more. The spring court's going to be coming in September, so we want to do that. I will thank you all. Last year, I know I talked about the calendar, probably went too long on it, but we did end we've got for next year, the first semester ends. The first semester coincides with Marshall. It's really super helpful for us. If I had to, on behalf of our community, as they reached out, they would love to see school in before June, but that's the semester thing was primarily important to us. But that's one thing we get a lot of. There's one more thing. Seems like. Oh, what can you all do for us?
We can skip that one.
Oh, wait a second. No, I'm not going to bring to you anything that's urgent. Listen, I understand the state of where everybody's at. If I look around the building, if there was any 1 or 2 things that we could do, I'd love to be able to professionally paint the entire building, the walls, these colors, this reflective white. It's just bright and it's just affects. I mean, I think it is mood affecting for our kids, and it does. I think for a lot of our kids, they're proud of coming in a room like this in our auditorium where our gym, where it's you can be proud of this, and we just. That's something we would like to do down the road, but certainly, just if it becomes available, we're interested. We'd like to see the school painted. I could probably name off a variety of things, but honestly, that's one. It's near and dear to us, I think. But any questions for us?
Fire services class. Are we having any interest from students on that?
So we did. I talked to Greg and I asked where are we at on offering this? I think we've just got to, we'll do it. I think we've got interest.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Where are we at in terms of instruction?
You're ready to go.
Okay.
We're approved for next year.
Yeah, okay, so we'll get with those list of students, and I got that on my desk, and if we want to do a firehouse visit, we'll do that before the end of the year, and then get.
We'll need to identify space where it's going to go.
Yeah, oh yeah, we've got classrooms.
Okay.
Is it, how many sections a day would we have for instruction?
I
Or what's that look
I
like?
think he just starts with one section.
So one period a day?
Yeah.
That'd be it.
One block.
It's a block.
A block, so a 2 period, okay.
Yeah.
So is it they have to be in that block all year long?
No,
One semester.
one semester.
One semester, so we can have 2 sections, 1 semester each. Okay.
Yep.
All right, we'll get those students and look at their schedules, see what we do. So
Okay.
I know they're interested.
Chief Cottle said he was more than willing to come back out again and speak to you or the students that's interested. He just wanted to make sure that
We will, I'll tell you what we'll do. I've got those names. We might go ahead and pull those kids down for if he's willing to come. We'll let him talk and we'll tell him we're committed now. Now you got to tell us, are you committed, and see where they're interested. Sometimes we get a lot of kids that say, yeah, I want to do it. And then when rubber meets the road, they don't sign up.
he has a fire truck and everything now, and he wants to bring you here, so that would be pretty cool.
Well, now's the time for us to do a firehouse visit, to do that sort of thing, got testing behind us, and anything that'll get the kids here that's beneficial, we want to do it. All
All
right,
right,
Thank you all.
thank you.
thank you.
All right. I guess we can-
We've got some other items of business that we got to go through. I'm gonna talk to them about budget, so you guys are welcome to
Stay
stay,
if you want.
but don't feel obligated.
I appreciate the
All
offer,
right.
but I'm going back.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. New business, separate action, consider for approval the awarding Lavalette Elementary School roofing project to the lowest bidder, which is Par Roofing, at a cost of $89,250. Motion?
Second.
Motion by Randy, second, Mark? Was that you?
Me.
Second.
Yeah, Mark did. Questions, concerns, any discussion? Par's always been good to work with in the past.
Yeah, it's a good price.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 2, consider for approval awarding Spring Valley High School soccer field drainage project to the lowest bidder, Terman Morton Incorporated.
So moved.
Mark makes the motion. Second?
Second.
Johnita, and that cost is $60,400. Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Superintendent report?
Yeah, so we were invited, Wayne County Schools was invited to the Clay Center last night for, you might have heard it on the statewide news today. The Huntington Banks hosted Ron Clark. Ron Clark was a gentleman that is a past Teacher of the Year in the nation, and they actually made a movie about him at one point. And anyway, he has the Ron Clark Academy. Some of the things that we heard down during Crumb's LSIC meeting comes from that academy. And so Huntington Bank had contacted us and wanted to invite educators up to the event to hear Ron Clark speak. So we had 15 educators, the majority of which were middle school. We did have, I think, 1 or 2 elementary and 1 high school person that went to that event yesterday evening. And during that event, Huntington Banks announced that they had secured funding for those participants to attend the Ron Clark Academy this summer
Oh, wow.
for 2 days. For 2 days, so it's professional development, and they're paying all expenses.
That's
And
that's exciting.
I sent Brad Smith an email today to thank him because the Wing to Wing Foundation, which is Brad and his wife's
Right.
foundation that they that they benefit the community through, they were responsible for us being in that room and for the donations that it's going to support the professional development. So we certainly appreciate them. We certainly appreciate Huntington Bank, and the teachers were, absolutely surprised and thrilled that they're going to have an opportunity to do that. But if you see WSAZ or West Virginia Metro News, there's several articles out about it today. The second thing that occurred is that today Marshall is doing a press release. We actually released it today as well. Wayne County Schools is now a part of Marshall's direct admission program for students who opt in. So what that means is no application fees. The records are automatically sent. And as long as they meet the minimum qualifications of GPA, they are automatically enrolled at Marshall.
Wow.
And Wayne County and Putnam County were being added, and that information is being released by Marshall today. So that's, we had talked about that last year that was coming,
Right.
but it's here. It's here. So
Yeah,
we'll
that's
be,
wonderful.
yeah, the students that are graduating this year will have an opportunity to participate in that program.
Good.
And then we approved the roof bid for Lavalette Elementary this evening. We're getting ready to put out another roofing bid. I'm hopeful that it'll be a smaller job than what we have here, but we're going to be working on at Wayne High School on some of the athletic buildings. I'm wanting to say it's the locker room, weight room area.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure which building it is, but it's in dire need of replacement. So that's our next bid to go out. And so that should be out hopefully here. We'll have it in the newspaper probably next week. So that's another item that you'll be seeing here before the close of the fiscal year. And then our next item, our budget workshop, a preliminary review of the 2026 budget. So as you're aware, May is always budgeting season. I'm going to provide you, if you'll pass that down to Randy. Here's your copy. I just want to look at some numbers, and I emailed these to Johnny today, so she would have those available for her. One down there.
Yes, thank you, but I'm having a hard time seeing them.
Okay.
But it's okay.
Okay, so I just want to take a look. First of all, we've received our final computations. So you remember a few months ago, we went over the preliminary computations, and that's the preliminary estimates of the money that we're going to receive. The state has finalized those numbers. So this first document goes through the different steps in the school funding formula, and it provides a comparison between this year's final allocation and last year's final allocation. The column on your far right shows the variance between this year and last year. And as always, if the number's in parentheses, that means we're receiving less money in that particular area. And if it's not in parentheses, that means that the allowance for that particular step has increased. So just looking at this, some of the highlights. Step one, our professional educators were going to receive $318,000 less than we did last year. Our service personnel is actually increasing by $286,000. Now you could say, why is that? How can professional educators drop or enrollment drop, but our service personnel allotment go up? That's because of the added ECATs for third grade. So we received additional funding for those positions that are to be added for third grade. Our allowance for fixed charges, that's our benefits, et cetera, is down close to $10,000. Our overall transportation allowance is down $328,000.
Wow.
Our bus replacement is actually up $43,000. So that's a positive. Allowance for professional student support personnel, that's our counselors, nurses, et cetera, is down $47,000. We're receiving about $1.5 million. Allowance for other current expenses, that's utilities, et cetera. We receive about $3.7 million for that. That's down $111,000 from what we received last year. Our allowance for professional substitutes is increasing by $12,000 to $617,000. Our allowance for service substitutes is increasing by approximately $17,000 to $241,000. Faculty Senate funds, which are assigned to the schools, that's dropping by $12,600.
Wow.
Our step 7A is our improvement of our instructional programs. We receive about 1.5 million in that particular step. That's a decrease of about $4,000. Our allowance for our teacher and leader induction, that is what drives our master teacher program. That's the funds that we use for that program. That is increasing by $26,000. So that's a positive.
Yeah.
So in step 8, you'll see that our total basic state aid, when all is said and done, everything is factored in, we're down about $446,000 from our allocations last year. Now, our estimated local share, step 9. So that's the tax collections that come in. And so the state, they calculate a total basic state aid. They subtract what you collect locally through property taxes. And then that leads to step 10, which is your basic state aid. So you'll see that the amount that has been collected through local taxes, we said that the projections were down a little bit next year. They're down about 122,000 according to the state. And so there's $7.7 million that's subtracted off the total basic state aid. So we're going to receive about $40 million in total basic state aid. Now you take that $40 million in the next few items there, you take that $40 million, that teacher leader induction is restricted for those specific activities. The faculty senate dollars are restricted for those particular activities. So our unrestricted state aid is approximately $39.5 million. I won't go over the numbers, the rest of the numbers there on the bottom of the page. We've looked at those previously. Those all have to deal with enrollment.
Yeah.
And so we've looked at those numbers previously, but they're there for your review. Okay, if we'll go to page 2. At your next board meeting on the 13th, we plan to present you the full budget for your review. And as we look at that full budget, you'll have about a 2-week review period before it's due to be approved. And we're going to need to approve that on May the 27th. And you remember that we were going to have a regular meeting on May the 27th, but we have a graduation that night. So we'll just we'll have to do a special meeting that evening just for budget approval. We'll do that early, Randy, if that works for you. We'll probably try it at probably about 4 o'clock, maybe 4:30.
What day?
Okay.
May 27th.
Okay.
27th, yeah.
That's the graduation of one.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Which will be here in Huntington.
They're
At the arena.
4 o'clock and then graduation.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll wrap up the budget and then head up for the graduation. Okay, because it's got to be approved by the end of May.
Okay.
All right, so looking at this page, the second page in your packet. So what we're looking at is the budget numbers for the 2026 budget. So this is the numbers that are going to be in the packet that you receive. Jeb has worked up here a comparison between our 2025 numbers, and so you can compare those to our 2026 numbers. And then in the right, again, you see the increase or decrease. So we've just been through RIF and transfer season. So we are seeing a reduction in positions. And again, these numbers are preliminary. We'll finalize them for you on May 13th. We had the reduction in positions during RIF and transfer season. So that's going to shrink our professional salary budget about $594,000. It's going to shrink our service salary budget about $465,000. Now, I won't read every one of these to you. The board member salaries are going to be changing come July 1st. So I've told Jeb that's a number we need to review to make sure that it's accurate for the current salary structure for board members. The big item that you see increasing there is the health and dental optical insurance. That's caused by that 14% increase in PEIA. So our budget for that has to raise about $975,000.
Okay.
So you'll see that the total salaries and benefits are scheduled to be about $66 million. And we're going to look at, we just said we've got $40 million worth of state aid coming in. Our salaries and benefits are at $66 million. Now we have our levy and our excess levy that's going to help make up that difference, but it just tells you the percentage that we're looking at. So we'll look at total revenues here in a second. Okay, going down the list, our contracted professional services, that is our pre-K program. That's any programs that, we have with Mount West or other outside entities that we're providing, but a big chunk of that is the pre-K program. You have your contracted repair, non-technical. So those are when we're having to bring in outside groups to do repairs on facilities. Rental of land, buildings, and equipment. That's the parking lots that we rent for Lavalette, the central office. Includes graduation rental, that type of thing. You see your insurance breakdown between vehicle, property, fidelity bonds, and flood.
Quite a bit.
It was the way that they were joined together last year. They're being broken out into more separate items instead of chunked into one specific category. There was some bus insurance that was included in that number last year. You get down and you see our utilities. Approximately $328,000 in water, $150,000 in disposal services, $275,000 in natural gas, which will be slightly less than last year's budget. Approximately 1.5 in electricity. And hopefully as these we have more schools come online with the solar panels. Hopefully we'll see a decrease in that, or we'll have to see a decrease in that amount. Telephone services is approximately $96,000. Data communication services, approximately $150,000. Textbooks and rebinding, I think that we're going to come in lower on that number than what's needed there. We have the social studies textbook adoption that you'll be receiving information on, I think, at the first meeting in June. And then we have a pre-K textbook adoption that we have to go through this year. So I think that number is going to be approximately $300,000 less than what we have budgeted there.
That's good.
You see fuel costs that are budgeted. See the parts cost. Those are parts for the transportation department. That's $630,000. That vehicle, that's for the next vehicle that we buy, we replace in the fleet. Your bus replacement, that comes directly from the step formula that we were looking at a little bit ago. Those transfers are projections on what we'll need to transfer out of our regular fund to cover, for example, the food service program. The food service program exceeds revenues, so we have to use local monies to help with that. And that's not atypical at all. So you'll see that our total expenditures, the third line from the bottom, are expected to be up about $252,000 next year. And if you look at our total expenditures and revenues, we won't have as much in reserves as we did this year. So we'll be looking at approximately $81 million as the budget, which is a decrease from 1.1 million from this year.
And it shows that our contingents, what we have reserved for contingencies basically was cut in half.
Correct.
I guess what was it? That Jim talked about up there, legislature putting this security requirements on us and not being funded, and they're looking at, he said that the legislature, he heard him talk about, they're looking at money that we're supposed to have in reserve, like for
Oh, we're
our
talking about our
contingency. And
contingencies,
they think that money's floating around out there for us to use, but
at the required 4%.
it's not there. I mean, they're gonna bankrupt some counties, maybe us.
Yeah, I think what they get concerned about is that in some places, those contingencies greatly exceed that 4%.
All right.
And they want you to have enough, but not too much.
Too much, but most people don't have
Right.
excess.
So, Randy, to address your concern about the contingency, if you go to the third page. Again, we're going to have a look here at fiscal year 25, fiscal year 26, a comparison of the 2 years. Now that fiscal year 25, if you'll see that estimated beginning balance was at 5 million. That's not what we started the year out at. You remember, we were doing this budget last May, and Jeb's projection on where we were going to end up the year was approximately 5 million, but it came in lower than that. We were at approximately 2.7 million. Okay. So that number was off. That wasn't reality. We weren't starting with 5 million. And then it's projected right now that we're going to end up with approximately a $3.7 million carryover, which if that holds, it means we've been in the black for $1 million this year.
Right.
And if that holds, Randy, then that contingency amount that's projected should go up. Okay. So at the top of this page, going back, this is the revenue that we're going to see. Our estimates on our regular levy are 8.4 million. Our excess levy is going to bring in 10.9 million. Our state aid unrestricted, again, we go back to that 39.5 million number. We'll receive 2.6 million for the state retirement system, another 7.3 million for the unfunded retirement. The state PIA allocation that comes in will be approximately 7.6 million. So the total revenue is projected to be that 81,073. Now you'll see that that's, as we talked about before, that's a decrease from the previous year of what was projected. But you got to remember that 5 million really wasn't 5 million. That was just a projection. It was 2.7. So if you factor that in, if his projections hold for the 3.7 million finish, we're going to have more revenue in the coming year than we did this year. And we were able to, if the projections hold, we were able to finish in the black this year with less revenue than what will be coming in next year. And then again, you see those expenditures at the bottom, the 66 million for fiscal year 26 is what's currently projected in the budget. Other expenditures, that's for just salaries and benefits. those other expenditures, all those other items that we just talked about, from contracted professional services down to transfers, all those add up to 12.3 million. Transfers to special revenue, again, that's what we were talking about with food service, that type of thing, are reserved for contingencies. That's where the balances, the budget balances at $81 million. So you take that $66 million in benefits and look at the total budget of $81 million. That's approximately, that's 82% of the budget.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good number.
Yeah.
So we've talked about it before, but as we go through our financial trainings with the State Department, your salaries and benefits are supposed to be between 80 and 90%, and they need to be on that lower end of that. And so what we're looking at now is approximately 82%. You'll see that when you get your budget handed to you on the 13th.
It's pretty good. It's the lowest it's been in a while then.
Yeah. And I mean, it's possible because, the reduction of positions that we've had to do over the last 2 years. So if enrollment would stabilize, we would be in pretty solid shape. What gets us is, next fall when we start looking at RIF and transfer season, if we have a 3-digit drop in student enrollment, you're just chasing it constantly. So instead of 27, 28 cuts that we made this year, you'd lose three-digit numbers in enrollment, and that 27 cuts turns into 10 cuts, right. And then you're back to trying to reduce.
Jim said something pretty interesting about enrollment up there at the meeting. Apparently with the Hope scholarships and the micro schools and all these others, 20% of the school population in the state isn't that. We're down 20%, 1/5 what we used to have.
I did not know that. Yeah, I would have never thought it was that significant.
Statewide,
Yeah.
Maybe it's not bad with us, but that's really taking a dent.
Yeah,
in public education.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the all these numbers that we just went over, these are our Fund 11 numbers. So
Yeah.
the title budget hasn't been released yet. Of course, all those things are earmarked. We can't use them for these type of expenses, right. But that's separate. Our excess levy also collects funds for our capital improvements and our permanent improvement, our funds 41 and 51. So I want to mention, as we go into next year, as far as projects go, we're looking at just projected that to finish up the Wayne Elementary School project, we'll probably have about $146,000 in cost to finish that up next year. The Wonder Dome project, we're looking at about $100,000 in cost there to finish that up. The big ticket item next year will be we will be going on the Buffalo project. So we're projecting about 1.6 million will be needed for the Buffalo project next year. So that is going to be our key projects going forward. So we have a lot of things we'd like to do. And I know as we travel to the LSICs, there's things that come up. I'd love to paint this building and things like that, but we have to work with the project budget we have. And it's going to be tight getting through those numbers.
Right.
So. Any questions regarding any of those? So at the 13th meeting, you'll receive the booklet, the full booklet. And then we'll have a budget workshop at the 13th meeting as well, in case you have any questions. And then we'll come back, and we have to put these out for public review as well. And then we'll come back on the 27th for final approval. And of course, the state has to approve it as well.
Oh,
All right, that's all I have.
All
motion to adjourn.
They should beat everybody to it.
right, second. Dennis,
Yeah.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. It is 6:01.
Thank you to those who joined us online.
You're welcome. Hey, everybody.